All right. So we are back with another episode of The Modern Nerd hosted by GJC327. Thank you very much. Um, this is going to be a good one. We're going to have a few things to talk about, but I mean, the big chunk of this is going to be the Batman, Team Battinson. I'm going to get us in there because we're going to have a lot to talk about. Let's start with some trailers. Does that sound good? Um, let's go with the Halo trailer first, because I feel we've seen it, but it's probably the lower on the totem pole of all these.
Oh.
Um, Initial reactions, anyone? George, Dan?
I don't have a whole lot of stake in this. I
Me
never
either.
really paid attention to the story, to be completely honest. I always felt
Me
like it was
too.
kind of bogged
I'm in
down.
that same boat also, and I've played it probably less than both of you. And I just want to say that don't fuck it up. You know, you could do a lot of things. You don't need to make it great. Just don't fuck it up. Is all I can say,
Yeah.
because you have a lot of people who are like diehard fans of that franchise who've been playing
Yeah.
it since. Remember when the Xbox was like the controller was like weird shaped
Oh,
and
yeah.
it hurt your hands to play it? Remember those days of playing Halo?
Massive.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Ugh.
And when you got the Halo Edition Xbox, it was just see-through green, and you're like,
I
"How is
know.
this Halo?" Anyway,
So
it
those
looks
people who
cool.
are a lot of
Yeah,
green screen. I mean, it's for because
yeah.
there's CG and all that. I understand. So I'm assuming like 90% of this is fucking on green screen, like, which is fine.
I'm guessing that. Yeah.
Fine.
It looks cool. Again, with you guys, I wasn't really super into the story. I mean, maybe 3 and Reach, I really kind of dove into, or like the big ones that I really liked. But if the one takeaway I got from reading about it is there's rumor that they're gonna like take off Master Chief's helmet,
Mm.
and I'm like, if you do that, I'm out. Like I get it with like Mando, but because it's not like like a glorified character from like 20 years ago, but it's Master Chief. Just leave it on. You don't need like I think Mandalorian and has proven that you don't really need to take off a helmet. You don't need necessarily facial expressions and all that crap as much.
Oh.
Um, but
I
I
don't
defer
think
to my
that
friend Smirch.
I look. I mean, you guys have heard me complain before that the Mandalorian lacks in a decent amount of I don't know. I don't want to say character development, but just of character portrayal in that we don't see his face the whole time, and I think the show suffers because of that. And I think that the if this isn't a video game, this is a show. I would tend to agree with you, Tim, but it's a huge challenge, not just as an actor, but as an overall delivering a quality of show when your main character we can't see their face. So I would be more okay with it if it was detrimental to the quality of the show and served a purpose. I think, yeah, probably shouldn't do it, and they probably could figure out a way. But I think if it helps, and there's a reason, I think they should go for it personally.
who knows
And
what they're
also,
gonna do with it? Go ahead.
right, I was just gonna say, I think it's fascinating the like the backlash on Cortana and uh her how she looks in the show. Um, I kind of agreed initially, but then I found out that that is the original voice actress of Cortana in the games.
Nice.
And that to me is awesome. And like I I'm pushing for that. When I found out that the Sonic's coming in, I found out that Tails the is the original voice actor
Original actor.
from the games.
Actor.
Dude, yes, like I get that movies need to um, have star power and need to promote them, but I actors don't need more voice work. Like let the voice
Yeah.
actors get work in these movies, and I am all for that. So, that being said, go Cortana and whatever
Yeah.
her name is, the
I'm
actress.
I'm sad at the voice for Master Chief. I heard him speak at the end, and I was like, that's just use the actor. Like, why wouldn't you use the voice actor? He has a helmet on. You can put anybody's voice in there.
Well,
Like, it doesn't matter. The
the quick
character
answer
can.
is that because they probably will show his face.
Yeah, well, that's annoying. But anyway, look, the show, it looks cool. If I have the ability to watch it over here, I'll probably try and check it out. I'm not going to go out of my way to find it and watch it and all that stuff. But if I see it, I see it. But it looks cool. Um, yeah, I'm like I said, I don't think anybody here is like super invested. I think it would have been better if it was like 5 years ago, maybe 10 years ago almost. I think at one point Guillermo del Toro was attached to do it, and then he backed out and did the District 9. So, I mean, given the technology now and everything, I think it's the right moment for the technology, but I think it could have been done a while ago. They had that web series that they did, and it looked pretty good. So, yeah, I think it could have been done, but either way, it looks
Maybe.
cool.
I don't know. It feels like the right time though. This is the last Halo game they think they're gonna make for the foreseeable future and just add on to it. So maybe this is kind of like
Yeah.
now this game series is ending.
It would have been cool when it
Anyway.
was a little more popular, but anyway. Um, all right, so let's go with Obi-Wan. I I loved this trailer. It looked cool. The show looked intriguing. Um, it made it look like from the trailer that everyone was searching for Obi-Wan and kind of led up to them, revealing him at the end of the trailer. You could see him a little bit, throughout the trailer, but it seemed more like they were kind of searching for this, for the Jedi on the planet and everything. And I think you even had like Uncle Owen like made an appearance in the trailer, and like you can kind of see the timeline where they set it up. It looked cool. I'm excited for Ewan McGregor to reprise the role. I think he did great. I think he's going to have. I think his character progressed better than any of the others in the original in the prequels. I think he's going to be given a little bit more freedom and ability to really sink his teeth into it now that you got some good showrunners in charge. So I think you're going to get a really cool, really nice Obi-Wan with some interesting characters. And at the very end of the trailer, you could hear the classic just you could hear the Vader. I don't know if that came through or not at
I
all.
did not.
It did not.
Oh,
But
great! But you could hear the Vader. There it is for one time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. I am. I'm
I'm
gonna watch
intrigued to
all of
see
them.
how it's gonna be Hayden Christensen as Darth Vader. I don't. The only voice I know for Darth Vader is, you know, the man. What's his name? Damn it.
The man, the myth, the legend, James Earl
Yeah,
Jones.
James Earl Jones. So I'm curious to see how they're gonna do that.
Simba.
George.
Hmm. I mean, I see a lot of criticism, I think, because there are obviously going to be some characters that were shown in the animated series, whether it was Rebels or Clone Wars, and people need to I think kind of slow down on the hater, right? Because when it's hard, when they transfer characters like that to live action, it's never going to be like a 100% like perfect transition, right? And so a lot of the people saw in the preview that some of the characters that they've seen in Rebels and Clone Wars don't look exactly the same as they did in the animators, and they're like, oh, this is like let's toss out the baby with the bathwater. Like you didn't even watch any of it yet, and already you're like, so I'm a huge Ewan McGregor fan. He is one of the most talented actors out there, and I don't think, in my opinion, he could possibly fuck this up unless people fuck it up for him. Do you know what I'm saying? I have full faith in him because honestly, in those early scenes with Hayden Christensen, he fucking carried those fucking scenes with the poor kid. So he was the only decent actor in that whole entire fucking 3 movies. So I'm not gonna. Also Mace Windu, of course, because who fucking doesn't love fucking Samuel Jackson?
He didn't do that good, to be honest.
But he's Samuel Jackson. He can get away with being Samuel Jackson.
If Natalie Portman does a bad job, something's wrong. That's
because it was a bad character for her. I'm sorry to say, and badly written for her. So,
I think
but that's not here or there. My point is I have full faith in Ewan McGregor. He's one of the coolest guys, one of the greatest actors, really well trained actor, like knows his shit, and like from all accounts, one of the nicest fucking people you could fucking meet. So, like, I'm happy for him. I'm happy for him. There's a funny side story. He did a documentary where he and his best friends, they do this series where they ride around in motorcycles, either like around the world or up and down from like the top to all the way to the South Africa or whatever. And they do all these types of things. They've done it on all the different continents pretty much. And he one time when he was going through Africa, he went to the place where they filmed, like Tatooine, like the hut where Luke lived. And there's like a picture of him from like the prequels, and like everyone around him was like, they didn't know it was him. Like they just like, no, they didn't know. Like it was like so funny because and they are like, yeah, they filmed Star Wars here. He's like, oh really, Star Wars? Yeah, I know, I've heard of that before. Like no one had a clue it was him because it's like it was so long ago, like
shaves the beard. He's got actual
he
hair
always has the beard. Yeah, he always has the beard, but they still couldn't tell it was him because you don't expect that kind of thing, but they're like, yeah, they filmed Star Wars here.
That's fucking funny.
I know. He's great.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, they're just pumping out gold. They're just printing money over it on Disney Plus right now. So I'm not too worried about any of it.
You can be guaranteed that Star Wars fans will be upset in some form because that's just how it goes.
And everybody knows my view on Star Wars. I'm just happy that there's more. So, I'm excited to see it. I think it'll be good. Did they say that one? One of them, it's either that or like Miss Marvel, which we'll talk about in a second, but it's only going to be like 6 episodes or something. One of the two. I don't remember which one. I just wish they were a little bit longer. Like, give me 10. Give me a dozen.
Wasn't Hawkeye 6?
7, I think.
I'm not surprised.
But it's just watching shows get shorter and shorter and shorter, and then suddenly they're going to sell us a long movie as a TV show, and it's like, what is wrong with you guys? Like, nobody wants more Snyder cut. We just want television and good character and depth, because I just don't feel like you can get as much as you could out of like a 10 episode run as you could out of a 6, obviously. So we'll get there and we'll see how it goes. I'm not overly disappointed with the shorter ones. I just want more. That's all. I just want more. Yeah. It looks good. There's a new Star Wars game, I think, that's coming out that they announced. I don't remember who's doing it. There was something that looked like an RPG type game. It looked cool. I'll figure it out. All right. Let's we already kind of mentioned it. I did, at least. The Miss Marvel trailer has dropped within the last week or so, I think. It's exciting for me to see the Marvel take on a CW show. So we're gonna see kind of how it goes and see what they do. Because it's just a teen drama. It looks good though. The actress looks fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm excited that they cast her.
That's
I'm
funny.
excited for everything they're doing. It looks cool. It really does. And I think my biggest question for all of these shows, whether it's Moon Knight or Miss Marvel or anyone else that they've introduced as a show, I can't think of the other ones, but I want to see how they're going to translate to like.
Yeah, we're just gonna pretend he's still talking.
Small screens,
you missed it. Wait.
like...
Repeat what you just said. You cut off.
No. Oh man, I did.
Translate.
I am excited to see how these small screen characters translate into the big screen and how they appear. Moon Knight, Miss Marvel, Echo.
Moon Knight is standalone, supposedly, and I think that's okay.
It is. I still want him in a picture in a big screen.
We're not going to get that, at least for a long time. That's what their official stance is.
We'll see. They like to put out official stances that are
That's
fucking
fair.
bullshit. So,
That's fair.
but this the Miss Marvel looks good. I'm sold again.
Fine.
So Dan,
Yeah. I don't know. Sure. Why not? Looks okay. I don't know. It's a fucking other show. And her
yeah,
troubles, and I don't know. I'm beginning to get jaded on shit. There was a lot of backlash on how her powers are portrayed, which I kind of was initially agreeing with, but someone brought up that you can't have, with Mr. Fantastic being introduced, probably a little too similar, perhaps. And so that being said, I'm okay with it. It looks pretty, looks shiny. I
yeah.
don't know. I think that's all right. Like you said, CW show on Disney Plus took the words right out of my mouth. Um, I I I'm not. I got no expectations for this. Whatever, dude. They're turning these things out. I'm sure it'll be decent, and I'll probably watch it.
Yeah.
That's it.
At least they have different showrunners for all of these different shows, and it's not like the same team is rushing production to go do another show to run
Yeah,
and do another show. They're
totally.
they're they're taking their time and they set up their schedule so that they could drop them when they needed to. But yeah, so
Mm.
it looks yeah. George,
Um, well, I will say that they got all the like, they have a very obvious target demographic for this, in the sense of like they have a list of boxes they need to check, right, to like round out their
Yeah.
no to round out their library of Disney Plus. And this checks a shit ton of fucking boxes in a row, which is like good in many ways, and also very like typical of Marvel in many ways as well. There's a team of fucking people coming up with this shit, like being like, okay, like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, so I understand, like, which is like, and I will like, I'm not going into it the same thing with Dan with very high expectations, but I will say like it's very well marketed for the target demographic that they're trying to hit.
yeah,
Like, it's
Yeah.
perfect. It is fucking perfect. Like, CW show, like you said, I know two of you already said that, but like in the sense of that kind of thing, they're looking for like a younger, like teen audience, right? And so this was great. The fact that they chose like one of the hottest songs in the last like 2-3 years as their trailer is like
Yeah.
a song that came out 3 years ago that people are still listening to right now. Like,
Right.
so
I'm part of that target demographic.
me too. I love it. So
I'm not plugged into
and
that music kind of thing, and
I'm not a huge, like, I don't know much about this Miss Marvel because I know more obviously about, Captain Marvel, but I feel like what little I've seen of her, there are very iconic images, and they did a pretty good job. And like that very end, I love the last scene, which is just her sitting on the lamp. I've never read a single Miss Marvel comic, but even I know that picture because it's like a very iconic picture of her and her long, like, mask, like blowing in the wind, looking onto New York. Like it's a very big. And I remember when she first debuted in the comics, like that it was a very big deal. So I think that like representation matters, and I think that it's a good step forward in that direction because like we've come a long way from showing like Middle Eastern people in like Iron Man 1 as like the bad guy to like where we are now. So with now two new franchises with one Moon Knight and also now Miss Marvel, there's like good representation of people both like Indian and also Middle Eastern. So I'm glad to see that.
Moon Knight is an interesting thing that just came up in the media. The director jab at the DC Black Adam movie because Moon Knight has a very heavy it lies heavy in the Egyptian lore and like a lot of the Egyptian gods and everything. That's where like the powers come from and like all that stuff. So there's a lot of symbolism and everything in the show that it does. So the director of Moon Knight, took a great care to make sure he got like Egyptian editors and crew and like people of Egyptian descent that are working with in front of and behind the camera and behind the scenes and everything. So he took a jab at an interesting jab at the movie Black Adam, because he was like, why would they choose to set it in the uh, made up city when they could have done like a legit like Egyptian one, because representation matters and everything. I'm like, yeah, I get it. Like representation matters completely, but like the source material from 70 years ago of Kandak is from, source material. It's from the comic books. So he kind of like backtracked at the very end of his statement to be like, I mean, I get that they're using the source material from the comic books and that's fine, but it is interesting that I don't think Warner Brothers really took that much effort to kind of find people of Egyptian or that general area to kind of represent in their movie, and instead they got I mean they got The Rock, who you know it's not some white guy playing Black Adam, which I thought was good. Um, so, but it was interesting to see that and to have that make some headlines. So it's good to see that Hollywood at least is branching out a little bit more than just, oh, there's a bunch of white dudes making a movie and a TV show. So it's good. It's only good for the future. So
Yeah.
something good to look forward to at least. Okay. Um, I guess I have two little moment of silence or homages we would like to pay to two late people, phenomenal in both of their respects in their individual fields. Um, Scott Hall passed away recently within the last week, and so did the great William Hurt, who played Thunderbolt Ross and many other things. He's got an Academy Award under his belt from, I think, the 90s or something like that. I can't recall exactly. And Scott Hall's a two-time Hall of Famer, I believe, so for the WWE. So, both of those legends in their field will be missed and have both paid their dues in their fields to become legends and held on a pedestal that they very well so deserve. Yes. Yeah. I have the WWE Network over here. I'm going to watch a bunch.
Good luck with that.
He's
Yeah.
stuck.
I mean, the WrestleMania 10 ladder match is going to be great. So,
Who's in that?
Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon in the first ever ladder match.
Oh, I see. You're watching old stuff. Okay, nice.
Old stuff. Yeah. No,
They don't have new stuff on there.
We'll have a wrestling one after Mania. Mania's in 2 weeks, so we'll do something.
Sure.
Okay, and now for the meat and potatoes, the main course, the reason we all really wanted to get this together is The Batman by Robert Pattinson. It is that was a stupid intense movie. Like just it was Seven with a cowl. You know what I mean? Like it was just insane. Yeah. I saw it twice, so I'm gonna let everyone else go first, because I will weigh in at the end here.
What? For real?
Yeah,
All
I
right.
watched it.
No, I mean, like,
Say it
why?
again.
For
What
real,
did you
like, in the
say?
sense that, like, you want to go last? You don't want to go first? Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
I talk
Okay.
a lot.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
Smirch, go ahead.
Oh man.
Kick it
Okay,
off.
I was not prepared for this.
Yeah, I don't want to go first.
Okay, shit. What
I was
was
not
happening?
prepared for this. Let me get my speech out. No.
Yes, seriously. I'd like to thank the Academy. No. So yeah, that happened. That was. I don't know. I came into this movie with not a lot of expectations. Something I need to do a lot more often, and I will admit that. And I think that benefited me. I think seeing it in the IMAX benefited the entire experience. I maybe wasn't super excited for Zoe Kravitz. I'm not a huge fan of hers, but she did good. I mean, everything was good. It was over the top when it needed to be. It was semi-realistic when it needed to be. It was a movie for Batman fans, and I mean real Batman fans, not like, oh yeah, I like Christopher Nolan's trilogy. Like fans of Batman. And more than that, uh, it was just clear that Matt Reeves is a fan of Batman and a fan of just the portrayal of Arkham City. To me, was one of the main characters in this
Yeah.
movie, and it showed, and it was good, and it was it. This movie just everything just gelled. Like there wasn't like something that like Heath Ledger is a faraway standout of The Dark Knight, and that's what propels like that movie to greatness. But there wasn't a huge anything. I mean, I guess if I had to pick something that was a standout, it would just be the portrayal of Arkham City. I'm sorry, Arkham City, Gotham City, and this movie just gelled together. Every single element in this movie worked, and it was very finely crafted. And I'm sure there were people out there who felt the beginning was slow or something, like where's the action? I didn't feel that way for a second. I mean, there was the initial scene, I'm vengeance. It's a little cheesy, but that's Batman. Batman is inherently kind of cheesy. It's a weird thing. This dude's dressed up in a bat, going around saying I'm
In a bat.
vengeance. It's in a bat suit, and he's going around saying I'm vengeance. That's fucking cheesy, but it doesn't really matter because he's doing it to send a message and like propel his 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 feeling of fear throughout the criminals of Gotham.
Can
I
I give
could
you a
go on.
tidbit
Yes,
that I think you will really enjoy about that scene, which is something that doesn't really happen, but it was that scene. The choreography was
I,
partially,
I know.
yeah, it was partially not ad libbed, but
The last
um,
two.
yeah, he did that. Yeah, and he was supposed to open with "I am vengeance," but he didn't say it. Walked up to the guy, did the fight choreography. I'm frozen, aren't I?
No, you did it. No, you're good. You're good.
No.
Now you're frozen
Oh, all
again.
right, cool. All right, but he did the fight choreography, landed those last two, and then and then said, "I am vengeance," and it
I think
was.
that was
I
a
didn't think it
good
was cheesy.
call.
I think when he said it, yeah,
Look,
the
it's
line, the
hard to say.
delivery, I thought
Right.
it landed
I would
so
say if you're
well
not a
for me.
Batman fan and you're not really aware of
Go ahead.
this, you're kind of like, okay, all right, guy, vengeance. Like it's a weird, but didn't. I mean, I was like, fuck yeah. Like I was in from the start. I appreciate Pattinson's sort of downplayed uh, version of Bruce Wayne and Batman, but I think that was intentional. I think it was good. I do also appreciate that the pressure of being Batman, and given uh, his his roles in the past, the pressure was on for him. So he didn't. He was just a very reserved Batman when he needed to be, but letting out but during the action scenes you saw him come through, and he nailed it. It was well done. And everybody's portrayal was well done. I initially felt a little weird about John Turturro as Falcone, but he kind of did a very like charismatic, very mobster like version of him, and I
It was
ultimately
good.
kind of it was good. It was, I mean, it wasn't what I expected, but it worked for the movie. It gelled with the movie. Kind of thesis for this whole thing, and
Yeah.
that it did start slow, though it never felt slow to me, and it just kept going up, and that was so great. And then by the end, you're just you're so excited, and it was just man, I could go on forever. Just the symbolism everywhere you went. Just there's tons of little things that I wish I'd written down, but just things like Batman reaching to help the people out at the very end when everything was like flooding and no one taking his hand initially, but the kid takes his hand,
Good.
and then finally then the mayor, like that's like a whole symbolic thing, like they're gonna start to trust him. Like there's tons of that. throughout the entire film, and it's just clear that Matt Reeves is a fan of Batman, and we will remember the name Matt Reeves, I think, when we talk about Batman. And I was, and I'm sure Tim will say that just glad we got a detective story about Batman, the world's greatest detective. We haven't gotten that really. And it was perfect for the Riddler with Paul Dano. Oh my God. I knew he was going to do good, but oh my God, he was so good. And he was kind of, that at the end, just so creepy and so spot on.
He is creepy.
It was great, dude. He's good. I mean, I hope we see him in more movies with the Batman. And if I had to pick one thing to nitpick, because I'm me, it was not even a nitpick. It's just, it's funny how past films influence your perception of current films, and just we didn't even see the Joker. We got the little tease at the end of what was probably him. I wasn't feeling him, but that's just more me being like needing to realize we're never gonna have Heath Ledger again, and it sucks. But like we got to open the doors for other actors. As long as it's not another Jared Leto, I'm sure it'll be okay. That all being said, wow, what a ride! I think I can't say this definitively. Right now, I feel like it's the best Batman movie I've ever seen. I enjoyed it front to back, and I have no complaints, and it gave me everything I wanted. And that's it.
George is shocked. George is like, no, Batman Returns all the way.
I am kind of shocked.
Batman and Robin
but
is
that's
number
okay.
one.
No, we'll all give our spills and then we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's go, Gio.
I mean, I think there's a lot of interesting things. Like tidbits that I noticed is that like a lot of this is like shot in Chicago. So like as somebody who lives in the city, who's walked around those buildings every day for the last 10 years at least, like, yeah, you see my house, not to give that away, but there's a shit ton of houses. But yeah, like it's fun to see.
They edited out the Sears Tower.
Yeah, it's fun to see a lot of the interesting like sights and sounds and just the streets. A lot of it obviously was shot in Chicago, so it's beautiful to see like the L and the trains and like those beautiful shots. As somebody who enjoys those kind of scenery things. Also, very interesting tidbits. Like in the movie, it's like I know it's totally random. Is that Wayne Manor turned into an orphanage, which is what happened at the end of the series for the Christopher Nolan movie as well. In case you guys didn't notice that was a very interesting nod to like kind of like a little pay respect kind of thing, because obviously it's not the same continuality, but it's interesting that they chose to do that, to turn Wayne Manor into an orphanage the way that ended in those 3 movies. I think going into this movie, the question always was, it's the same question you always ask, that I always ask, is it better than Rogue One? Is this like, what is the purpose of this movie? Because in the many ways, they invested a shit ton of money in it, obviously, right, as a studio. So, they got somebody who was a well-known caliber, they got great actors, they got actors and actresses, famous names who cost a pretty penny. To make any movie of this kind of caliber requires a shit ton of money. So like the question is did they get the bang for their buck as far as like what the studio put in? I think box office returns, if it's just dollar for dollar, yeah, they made their money back and then some. Like it was profitable and it will be profitable. But like how much does it progress their overall like picture as a studio and franchise is like up for question. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I think there's the question of why are you making side movies when you're trying to establish a continuality in the DC universe? Like on the other hand, is there like room for that? Is there really room for that? And is that something the studio really wants to invest in while pursuing a universe of their own? Like on the side as well. Do you know what I'm saying? Is it like a worthy pursuit? Do you want to see a second one of this? Yes. Or do you just want to leave it as is and it's fine as is as one off?
I mean, they've been struggling. Like the movies have not been succeeding. and this is a
Exactly.
huge win for DC, and a win they very much needed. So whether it ties in or not, which they totally could if they wanted to very easily.
I hope they
I
don't.
think it's a win for DC. It is the first real win for DC, and I guess you could count Wonder Woman in
In
those.
many ways, I'm not saying it's as bad as Rogue One, but in many ways, it is. It reminds me of what Rogue One was attempting to do in the sense that it's like it's a movie for hardcore fans. Like Rogue One is a movie for like hardcore Star Wars fans. Only hardcore Star Wars fans would be able to pick out all the little Easter eggs and little nods to other previous Star Wars things in Rogue One. And as a Star Wars fan, I can see why you would really enjoy a movie like that. And as a Batman fan, I can understand why you would really enjoy this movie as well. Do you know what I'm saying? The question is how well does it translate to a broader audience? That's like, I don't know. I'm not quite sure. Like, as looking at it from a broader audience perspective, like, it's certainly not the best Batman movie I've seen, but it's not the worst either. I put it right. It's right where like Batman Begins is, maybe a little bit above it.
Batman
So
Begins
like it's within the
was a
top
solid
five. It's within the
Batman
top five.
movies. So,
And there's
no,
been a
like
lot of
7.
Batman movies, so it's in the top half of Batman movies, is what I can say.
Say that the level of stardom that Batman has received in the last like 10 years, more people are aware of Batman and the characters than ever before. And there's never been a better time for this movie because everyone's just become Batman fans. Even if they're semi-casual, they are aware of other characters. And I think this is striking while the iron's hot. And I think it's, I don't know, that's my 2 cents.
That's interesting. This is one of those rare occasions where I almost wholeheartedly agree with Dan.
I knew this would happen.
There are going to be a few. There's going to be a few things that I may disagree on, but can't be too much. Before I get into the movie, I think the one thing I disagree with Dan is the timing. I think the timing couldn't be worse. I think because it's just so oversaturated with Batman and Superman and DC and comic book movies. I think like you've got a Batman in Titans. You've got, you just came fresh off the heels of Ben Affleck as Batman. You just got news and are waiting to see Michael Keaton come back as Batman. You needed and pre-seeing the movie, you needed Robert Pattinson to do something to stand out from the crowd because it is very, very crowded right now in the Batman world. Having seen the movie, he did that. He Matt Reeves was able to bring something different that we haven't really seen, since the darkness of kind of like the 1989 one, where it was that kind of like Tim Burton noir, which I think is its own kind of noir, whereas there's more of like a neo-noir detective kind of vibe to it, which is like more classic. I think that I think it hit on every note. I agree completely with Dan that the Joker scene just really it shouldn't have happened. It just didn't need to. It looked, the moments that we saw, it looked so prosthetic. Like it just looked so like a giant fake nose with like fake. It looked like the end credit scene from the original Carnage or Vintage Venom movie of Carnage, where he looked so bad in that fucking wig that's basically like it tried to be more like the comic book, and I'm just like, it just looked bad. But of like all the things, like it's I'm talking like on a scale of 1 to a million, it's number a million. You know what I mean? Everything else was just check, 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 check. It was so amazing. I loved the beginning. I like the some people are tired of the narrations. I thought it was good. We haven't really had one in a Batman movie, so I
It
kind
was
of
an
really liked
interesting
that.
choice.
Am I
I
watching
feel like it could
Batman
have
or am
been
I
someone
watching
else
Rorschach?
besides
Vibe. It was
Yeah,
it was very reminiscent of like Blade Runner.
It was
when
very
they did this.
reminiscent of
someone else.
freaking
But,
Watchmen.
It should have been not Batman.
Yeah, a little bit.
But
Oh,
It was
I
very
liked it because
reminiscent.
it was.
It
I
reminded me of
liked his
Watchmen a lot.
voice. Yeah, I liked the
I don't
choices
think they
that
needed that. But
Pattinson made. We didn't get "I'm Batman" the whole time. He kind of hit those notes every now and then when things kind of get a little heated, but he was a person, a human being behind a mask. You know what I mean? Like you don't need to necessarily completely, destroy your vocal cords trying to hide your identity. Like I thought he did a great job with that. I liked the chemistry between him and Catwoman. I thought that was fantastic. It just, I mean, so the first watch, there were two different experiences for me. The first watch through, I had Screen X. So it had that like wider screen, and then it had these kind of like screens on the side of the theater that kind of like went up as like a wedge, like a triangular wedge up the sides. So every so often it would kind of expand the screen to be kind of around you. Didn't really do a whole lot for me. Um, but like some of the car scenes were fucking badass and just looked super cool when that happened. But my second viewing was a little different because the first one, the pacing was just, it was 3 hour movie, didn't feel like it. It felt like a 2 hour movie. Like it really just flew through. The second time I watched it not in Screen X, and it was a different movie theater because I wanted to try out the two different theaters here. Um, the theater one the theater wasn't great. It just wasn't. They had like old school kind of seats, and like there's some chatter going on in the audience, and it just kind of pulled away from the vibe. But the movie itself, having seen it once already, it felt a little longer. It did. It knowing what was coming, I wasn't as gripped. But it still, it didn't feel like it was taking too long. But it did feel a little longer than the original viewing. But um notes that I loved, man, the action, the fight scenes, it just were fantastic. They really, the sound editing on those were great because they just sounded impactful. Um, I dig that he was bulletproof. I'm like, cool, fuck it, let's do this. Like, let's just get
Batman
some really cool cinematic
allows
shots of
him to
him
get
getting
hit
shot up.
and
Like,
like not be
why
like an
not?
amazing
Yeah,
martial artist.
yeah.
Like that's a good thing. Yeah.
I liked that he got hit too. I liked that it
Yeah.
was a real fight. It looked kind of more like
Yes.
you knew he was going to take him out, but took a couple punches. Um,
It's
I
important.
mean, as much as Dan found the city of Gotham to stand out, Will Ferrell, Colin Farrell, excuse me, Colin Farrell was the star for me. I mean, I loved everything else, don't get me wrong, but you if you didn't tell me that that was Colin Farrell, I would have been like, "Who's this new guy playing the Penguin? He's fucking awesome." Like it was good. Knowing that it's Will Ferrell, I almost said it again, Colin
Will
Farrell,
Ferrell.
um,
He was a
it
little
made it
tall.
almost
He was a little
better
short to be
because
Will Ferrell.
like yeah, right. But like it made it better because I know, I've seen Colin Farrell. I've been a fan of Colin Farrell for a while. But like he's not always great. People, Irish in particular have a hard time apparently doing American accents sometimes. You'll really get a lot of those syllables kind of consonants coming through, but he did a great job of being a penguin, and it was so good that when he's driving, you see it in the trailer, but it's just so much better on the big screen when he's I got you, I
Yeah.
got you,
Yeah.
and then you see his face when he turns around, and you're just like, oh, like that whole sequence was fucking amazing. Um,
Oh man, the money shot of
as
him
far as
walking toward the
visual and
car.
visceral,
Oh my god.
I I will say this is the slowest Batman as far as the way he
Yeah.
does things that I've ever
Yeah.
seen. Every single thing he does is like methodical and thought out. He's like, I'm gonna reach for this envelope.
Yeah.
I'm like, just pick up the fucking envelope.
Yeah, that's why I felt
But
like the movie might have
it,
dragged
it,
on
it,
a little.
it's
There's a lot of
set
there's
the
a lot of scenery,
it set
right?
the
There's a
tone.
lot of scenery, a lot of
Yes.
tone
It
setting.
set
I
the
get
The
it.
tone
scenery was
for the slow build.
scenery was so good. Yeah, the scenery was so good that you could just chew on it all day long. I don't care. Just enjoy it.
Yeah.
They did a good job.
So
It was
good.
it was fantastic. It even in the first watch, I will say that it did do what some movies, and I feel like The Dark Knight had the same kind of issue. Not a big one, but it had two endings. It
Hmm.
had it would have been great for me if they ended it where he was Riddler was caught and behind bars, and they had that interview, and it went a little differently somehow, and then didn't have the rest of the city being flooded, but then the rest of the city was flooded, and it was still really cool to see all the rest of that, and like didn't hurt the movie. It didn't really pull me away, being like, what the
Yeah, we lost him.
is happening?
We lost you. Come back.
We lost you. Come back to us, Tim.
Is this
It sounds like he's doing an impression of like a guy pretending to break up. I'm losing. Well, this might happen.
That's
more
okay.
often than not.
He can edit it. He can edit it.
That's okay. Here, I'll do some of this so he knows that this is the time to edit this.
We gotta time it well. There you go. You're doing a good job.
Yeah,
you keep your. Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
There. Is he back?
There we go.
Kind of.
Maybe, sorta. Well,
it's the story of a man named Surge.
wake up. Wake up, Tim. Well, I guess we can keep talking. I don't know. I think it's
I want to say, okay, I want to say something very interesting, that not interesting, but very, I don't know. I'm not quite sure. One of the things I was not quite sure about is like the Riddler character. Not so much Riddler himself, but like, I guess is like, as an actor, you're like, what is his like, you know, what is his purpose? And like him, the character, and also maybe his like, not so much him, but his like group of followers. Are they trying to make like a political statement with like, not political, but semi-political statement with like what's going on with like, there he is, he's back.
Hey.
Are they trying to make a semi-political statement with his like almost alt-right group of followers? Or am I just like, is that not what they're trying to do?
I think they were just trying to modernize the Riddler, which he was in desperate need of.
Is he alt-right? Like, is that a legitimate question to ask?
I don't think that was the message.
Okay,
I think the message
but are his followers alt-right?
His followers are alt-right.
Was that he thought he was working with Batman the whole time because he's not socially adept.
Right.
That's portrayed.
He's not, but his like followers are like.
Well, he doesn't.
You don't know that.
I don't think he cares what his followers think. I think he expects his followers to, you know.
Right. It's a very like the way that scene played out is you know, it's like a siege of a political group, a politically elected leader trying to stop an election with a group of people. It's very January 6th, so it's like a very modern storyline. And obviously, I can't like you can't deny that must have influenced how that script turned out. It's not the first time, but like I just want to know if there's like a question whether or not how big of an influence. I don't think it's a statement, right? It's not like no. It doesn't really matter in that sense. But I see very interesting
modernization,
right,
of the Riddler, and you can't, no matter like how well they portrayed everything here in this like kind of like more comic book style Batman. You can't have a fucking dude with a golden cane with a question mark on it with the hat with question mark. You can't. That doesn't fit. And this was a much needed. Probably, I might venture to say that this will influence future Riddlers to come, just based on how well this character was done in this very dark, very gritty, very kind of almost Zodiac killer Saw type of thing they got going for him. I was in the whole time, and I was 100% intrigued. And I think it was a choice that needed to be made, and it was clearly influenced by a lot of things, but that's okay, and that's a good thing. And and then they found, Paul Dano. I mean, no one knew the name Paul Dano before this, and they fucking will now. They knew him as this guy from this movie or this guy from There Will Be Blood or something, and now he did really, really good, and he was
Right.
perfect for that role. And
He's like
I mean,
solidified himself as like the Heath Ledger of all Riddlers from here this time
in
point.
a way, I mean,
Yeah.
is he better than Heath Ledger? Probably not, but like he did a really good job with his
Yeah.
character and really made him twisted. And the fact that he thought that he and Batman were working together the whole time was kind of genius. And I hope he's in more movies. Man, was he good? Yeah.
Okay.
Um, I don't know. So I keep thinking about it's hard to not think about the Nolan movies. I wish I need to watch the Batman Returns again, George, so we can have a proper conversation. It's been so long since I saw that movie, and I think the last time I saw Batman Returns, I was just it's good. It felt cheesy, but this movie did too. So maybe I would feel different about it.
It's just a very different style, and like maybe it's just because I really enjoy the Tim Burton style more, and I always feel like honestly in my heart of hearts I probably still always enjoy the Tim Burton Batmans more than even the Christopher Nolan ones in some ways, because like maybe that's just my first impression of Batman on the screen, but like it's also the fact that like Tim Burton is a really great fucking creator and like amazing director. So like it's just I think that's why. And like that I really at the time I feel like it was a very dark Batman for its time as well, like something I don't think people were used to, because we had come off of like Adam West, like pal. So it's like it's cool, it's this like so
it's interesting. This movie really did make me realize how, I don't think disjointed is the word, but for everything in this movie like that happened was, as I saw before, gelled together and it fit. It made me realize how often in the Christopher Nolan movies there were like you'd have something really good happen, and then like right after you'd have something go like, just what, that wasn't very good. What was that? And no scene is more,
give me
in
the
my
bazooka.
opinion, I mean, that nothing is more personified in my opinion than the scene with the like, oh, that's not good. Oh, that's not good. Like that is a perfect. I mean, that's the most extreme example, even out of all three movies, because right like, in between those, you have scenes of Heath Ledger doing his thing. And I never felt that way once with this movie. Everything, the quality maintained its base quality throughout the movie, and I think that is a really, I guess I didn't think how important that was until I had it. And I might go back to, and it makes me wonder how good the Christopher Nolan movies really are. I would The Dark Knight be as good of a movie if it wasn't Heath Ledger? Now I'm kind of doubtful. I think it would just be pretty good. Does Heath Ledger's performance make that movie better than this movie? And to me, the answer is no. His scene. I mean, how often do we? I mean, me and Tim have done it. I don't know if George has done it. Just go and watch Joker scenes from The Dark Knight and skip everything else. It's because he was so
I
polarizing.
mean, that's half the movie is just watching the Joker scenes.
I know, but that's not the whole movie.
Yeah.
And I don't think I would
No,
ever
I know,
do
but that's the
anything
best
like
part. It really
Right.
is.
But I don't think I would ever do that with this movie, because there would be something you'd missed. That's kind of what I'm trying. Anyway,
No.
yeah. Colin Farrell.
No,
Wow.
this because this one's. I feel like this one has some interesting parts, and you may lose me again. So let me know. Am I coming through okay for now?
So
A little bit.
All right. This really, for me, drew a lot. It seemed like it drew from a lot from the comic book Hush that they did, which was these types of murders that would happen, and it was this mystery person. You don't know who it was. You're trying to figure it out the whole time. It felt very reminiscent of that, but it also felt a lot like an intro to the Court of Owls, which is one of the greatest villains or villain in modern day Batman, because they've just been in comics. They've been regurgitating Bane and Batman, or everybody, Ra's al Ghul, like all these players over and over and over, and so they'll just tuck him in with like Justice League. They'll put him in somewhere else. But this, the Court of Owls, became a much more interesting thing because it dove more into the history of the Waynes and how Gotham was formed, which this, really does very well. Personally, instead, um, which is again, would have been so excited for that, and there's still room to do that and bring that around instead of doing a Joker. Like you can leave Joker in there as just like a nice little shout out at the end, but I mean, uh, having the it makes it hard doing the movie that they did to do the rest of the Rogues Gallery. Like put put Mr. Freeze in this movie. You can't do it. Like it doesn't land. This movie doesn't hit. This universe won't work as well with, a classic Bane. It won't work as well with a Killer Croc or, these metahuman, these big, larger than life superhero or
Everybody
supervillains.
freeze.
It works better with the Riddler. You could probably, oh man, you could probably, am I back?
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
fine.
This is the worst.
Well, as soon as he asked the question.
Uh, um, it would work better with Two Face, or work better with,
Yeah.
you could do another Ra's al Ghul. You could do these like,
Black
more
Mask.
grounded characters. Black Mask would be perfect. I mean, they already did one. Speaking of Ewan
Yeah.
McGregor,
Yeah.
it was, but the someone was mentioning that they were going to pull this into the big DCEU, and I fucking hope they don't, because I don't think the tones work. I don't think the tones fit. I don't think this character works with you know Flash and Wonder Woman and all those people. So
Peacemaker.
I'm glad they're doing standalones, right? I don't know. The rest of them seem cartoony. You know what I mean? Especially John Cena. But the rest of them just feel, like it's a comic book, whereas this feels like, again, kind of like what Nolan was able to capture. It grounded it. It felt more realistic and something that could happen. So I hope they make more of these. I hope they do more of these because it seems like they're pulling from new source material as opposed to source material from 50 years ago, and there's some really good stuff that Tom King had a really good run that I think could do some really awesome stories from, and especially with like the Bat and the Cat, if they do that some more and have her drop in and out, so she's not like a main character, but she kind of has
Sure.
some influence over everything that happens. I want to see him do the Long Halloween, which takes place like over a year or so, and it's just this
Sure.
whole, every single villain is in there, but they're in like little shorts. Oh my god, it's so good. There's so many cool things that they could do with this type of character that would just work so well. There's a run called the White Knight where Joker basically becomes Jack Napier again. So like as though the Joker persona was like something happened to him, a trauma, and that Joker persona was pushed to the back, and Jack Napier becomes like the White Knight, the savior of Gotham, but he does it through legal channels and exposes basically renewal and all these other things for what it is, and kind of brings about change. And like you end up seeing um, Nightwing and Batgirl, and they like join the Gotham PD like officially with like badges and like new uniforms and shit. Like there's a lot of cool things that they could do. So
Yeah.
and I think it would work very, very well with this Robert Pattinson Batman and Matt
Whatever they do
Reeves
with
at the helm.
Joker, they got to do something different. Something has to be done in
Yes,
a different
very.
way. His introduction, I can't help but think, even though I never understood why. I don't have a lot of any exposure to the comics, but I obviously have absorbed a lot of Batman media, and this portrayal of uh, Gotham reminded me a lot of the Arkham games, and its
Yeah.
portrayal of the city. The kind of like got all the guys are wearing fedoras and trench coats kind of thing, and everybody's hey Batman, is it okay if you check out this
Mm.
thing over here? Hey, Batman. And I liked that. I don't know, maybe I'm a sucker for it, but I was just gonna say that Arkham Origins was the not the least well received Arkham game, which I thought was still very good. But spoilers for Arkham Origins, if you plan on playing it, you are dealing with Roman Sionis, aka Black Mask, the entire movie, only to realize that the Joker has been masquerading as him. And that was I thought, a genius kind of reveal for the Joker. Just one possible idea that they could go a different route for him, because they need to do something different with him, much like they did with the Riddler. And that's, I think, the only way that they can truly move forward. But one thing I did want to bring up, you said there cannot be a Bane in this universe. Maybe not the crazy huge one, but we got to talk about the green goo that Sir Batman injected into himself to get all crazy.
Okay, so I did see that, and that was my first thought, was like, that's Venom, like, because that's what they call their
right.
juice.
I mean, is Batman the origin of Bane in this story?
But
that
like,
would be a great kind of like. I think that would be a good idea. He would literally, he's always blaming himself for the creation of these villains. This would be a literal blame for him creating this villain who could get a hold of his venom. Of course,
plot twist. It's a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. He turns into Bane.
Oh God, no.
That'd be crazy.
No. I don't think, how would that even work?
You know who? That'd be cool.
We're gonna bring in Robin in this case.
That was the first thing I thought, though, was right. But I mean, they put up a case for a Robin in there, in a way, and not really, but like the movie dealt heavily on orphans. And so, the kid, he's not an orphan because his mom's still alive, but Mitchell's kid, so he could go and get back into the, open up Wayne Manor and revamp it, and orphans, Dick Grayson. But and I don't think they're not going to do this, obviously, but I think this, you could insert, the timelines don't work, but you could insert Joaquin Phoenix's Joker into this movie, and it would like, not this movie, but this universe, because they have a very
sure
similar tone. I mean, he was
already quite old when Batman was so young.
Also, who I'd like to see them have, and the timelines don't work, but I'm just saying, if you were to be like, fuck it, timeline, here's this guy, it would work. I'd like to see a Hugo Strange. He was in the Arkham games, and he like runs Arkham and everything. I'd like to see that character come about into the, because it's just, there's so many characters that you haven't done, and like I love that we got a brand new take on the Riddler. It didn't even really, to me, feel like the Riddler, but there's so many more we can touch. Go ahead, George.
I also want to give a shout out to the TV show Gotham, because I think it's, in many ways, it kind of laid out it was kind of like a soft pitch, in the sense of like seeing a slightly more realistic version of Gotham and more believable, right? The Penguin was like a believable like mobster character.
I liked that Penguin.
Like, I love that fucking Penguin. That actor was fucking great. It's such a good. He's what's his face from Accepted. The guy who like he was in that movie Accepted. But like that show was so interesting. I really enjoyed that show. So I think it's very interesting in the sense that show, I felt like was almost like a soft pitch for this movie, in the sense of like, oh look, we can make it more grounded and have this like very interesting that show had a lot of like weird super meta shit, but honestly a lot of it was just like gritty Gotham, like mobster politics and storylines and murders and things, solving mysteries and stuff like that. I think was one of the strong parts of it, and a slightly more grounded version of what we probably expected. So I like the idea of turning the characters towards a more like realistic like mobster story, as opposed to some of the stuff that's more flashy and more like, no pun intended, but like that we've seen in the last 3 or 4 years, as far as like the main franchise universe that they've been pushing. So
you guys keep saying how grounded it is. I think it was, but it also just felt, I feel like feel like we could see any iteration, no matter how ludicrous, pop up in this, and they would find a way to make it work.
I don't know.
We could. I don't know. We happened to get just two, the Penguin and the Riddler, who both happen to be normal sized guys. This movie felt, I don't know, maybe it was because of I played all the Arkham games and those games worked well, and I could see a Killer Croc or a Big Bane or something pop up in this, and all you need is like, which is kind of funny, and I'm about to say this, but all you need is like a cop be like, "Whoa, did you fucking see that? That was a freaking huge crocodile." But I don't know.
There you go. That's exactly the type of scene that you like criticize at a Christopher Nolan movie.
I know, but I mean that happened once or twice in this movie, and it was little bits here and there.
Hey, you can't be in here.
Yeah. I mean, it was because
it's you.
Because they were like embracing its silliness of how dumb these guys are.
The cops are like, "Hey, you can't be in here."
Hey, get out of here! Who is it? Hey,
what about chain of evidence?
Who is this? Use guys?
Oh no, we lost him.
But you're right. I don't know why. For me, it worked in this movie, and it didn't work as much in the other movies. I don't know why, and that's something I need to revisit. I think no more dead cops. Like, I get that they're trying to something. Maybe it's the Brooklyn accent. I don't know. Something about that just like feels more like somehow it works better. I don't, but I don't know. That's interesting that I said that, but that's really how I feel. I think we could get any number of.
See if I'll fix that. There we go.
Back in here. I mean, for me, I trust in Matt Reeves moving forward. Based on the success, it's clear that this is how movies go. That the studio might have a heavier hand in following movies, which is a shame. But that's just whenever there's something successful like this, there's always somebody higher up that has more to say about the second movie. And they don't have the DCU and producers, they don't have a Kevin Feige fighting for them.
I can understand that.
So Kevin Feige succeeded in his risk that they took, and I was thinking about this the other day, like when Marvel or when Disney acquired Marvel. I dare say that the plans for Infinity War and Endgame had already been loosely set, and I wonder if they would have been, killed off so many people in Infinity War had they made the decision later from under a Disney executive. But now that they've succeeded with Kevin Feige, they trust in him, and so they're able to place his trust in him because of his success. There's no one like that over in DC, and I'm fearful for future Batman movies based on the success that this one has. I don't think they know what they're doing. I think they somehow just kind of trusted this guy to do this movie because they didn't have a huge amount of stake in it. They had a lot of money invested, but it was going to be its own thing, and he pulled it off, in my opinion, with flying colors. And now who knows how it's going to be moving forward? Who knows how the rest of these movies are going to be moving forward?
It's funny because the thing is like, I mean, like, I know everyone shits on the DC side of things. It's easy to do so. It's with good reason, but it's easy. They make themselves an easy target, and it's easy to do so. But the truth of the matter is,
the movies haven't been good. That's just the long and short.
Aside from that, is he back?
Looks like it.
There we go. So aside from some of the like glaring problems and the easy things, I think what's interesting is there's a lot of sprinkling of like good quality stuff. Are you back?
Everything up.
Come back. He's still stuttering. Anyways, as I was saying,
yeah.
I think the problem is that like, not problem. The interesting thing is there are in this sea of just mediocre to bad shit, there's like a few bright gems, and I can appreciate that. And like, even though we haven't talked about it, and I know I'm railing on it, one of the few bright gems is actually like Peacemaker is like a really actually interesting bright gem on the DC side. So like, there are these things that they've allowed, like, you know, they've allowed solid people to kind of just like go with what they want, and it turned out to be working pretty well. So hopefully it means it's a trend that the studio is willing to take more chances. Do you know what I'm saying? And like,
doubt it.
I know.
Sorry.
I know.
When you say shining gems, there have been no shining gems. There have been decently polished gems, barely.
Well, this you could say is a shiny gem.
Well, for sure, but this is the first shiny gem they've had. Really, in my opinion,
I think Peacemaker's a shiny gem. I think
Peacemaker's
a shiny gem. When you watch it, I think you're gonna. I think they're
sure. Like, it seems like they embrace the silliness and the comedy, and that's something very much needed in the DC universe. But like, even Wonder Woman and Suicide Squad and
Wonder Woman 2 was fucking. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things I don't like.
You know what I mean? They're not shining gems. They're just like, hastily polished gems.
Sure.
And I don't. Tim, we were saying that we're just unsure of the DC, or I am unsure of the DCU moving forward.
I don't have a lot of expectations. You know, so I'm low.
Me either, but even then, like, how often are your expectations?
It all rests on the Flash.
Oh God.
Okay. Well,
we'll see.
It's all about Flash going forward. So whatever they do, whatever they reset with Flashpoint and all that, that's where it's all. It just got delayed again by like another month or two, which is just either they just need to make a decision, either make standalone movies or make a universe or sell fucking DC and let someone else play with their toys, and it'll go a lot better.
They're trying to think in terms
we'll
of
figure it out. This has been horrible, and so we're gonna do this again when I have better internet.
We should wrap this up
because this has just been the worst. You will probably, anyone who listens to this will probably get a little extra something from me in the audio podcast. If you find it wherever you can find your podcasts, you will get a little extra from me on the back end to put in a couple extra 2 cents based on what everyone else has been saying. I apologize for my internet. It has been just awful. This will be fixed shortly. We just I need to get this out and get this off my chest about Batman because it's just so good. The movie's been fantastic. Hopefully this is coming through. As I watch the Twitch feed on my phone, it looks like I'm just freezing left and right. If you haven't seen this movie, go see this movie. It will, in my opinion, it will change the way you see Batman movies, possibly even comic book movies as a whole, because it is so different from everything that's out there right now. Hopefully, Marvel sees this and it's like, oh, we could do something a little bit darker too, and isn't afraid to take some of their more rated R movies, Punisher, Deadpool, and kind of let them be their own thing. Even it does give a little hope. Was this rated R? No, it was PG-13. It gives hope for characters like Punisher and Deadpool that they, maybe not Deadpool, but for like Punisher type stuff, that they can do. Someone can do a PG-13 movie that will come off well and received well as like a dark version of the character. I don't need to necessarily see someone's head get cut off by the Punisher. Like, I get it. The Punisher's undergoing like an image problem right now as it is, so I don't know what the hell they're going to do with the show if they changed him in the comics because of backlash. So we'll see what happens with that. Normally there's a check-in, but I'm afraid I'm going to lose internet, so we'll check in next time with you guys when we've had a little more time. I posted some stuff. There's some new things coming soon. Dan and I have been working hard.
Well, we're not going to do a check-in. What's a check-in?
Some new stuff.
Okay.
What are you watching? What are you doing? What do you recommend?
We still got time.
I'm going to drop out any second now. No,
right.
Time we have, connection we don't.
All right.
So,
hi, Leanne.
Maybe I can. The YouTube version of this can get tacked on. We can tack on a second one next week or something with some editing.
Okay.
check out George, GJC327 on everything right here, everywhere you go. Sir Slice, for me, the Modern Nerd. Just follow the Modern Nerd is really where I'm going to be more active. Follow that. There's new stuff coming. Keep your eyes on that for new things Dan and I have been working on. George, we're going to get your opinion on it too. Don't worry. But yeah, this has been a pleasure. Well, it's yeah. I've heard you guys through the Twitch channel, so I know what you're saying. So all good points all around. Thank you guys for coming. Thank everyone for listening. Hopefully we'll have some internet. I've started playing some Fork Knife, as George will call it. So I'll probably hop on with him at some point during the week if he's streaming and doing that. Yeah. Any last words?
No.
Are you eating?
Fork knife.
Fork knife.
God.
I'm just glad me and Tim can. Of course, me and Tim agree on something, and his internet isn't good enough for us to talk about it.
Yeah. Well.
Oh, sweet irony.
Yeah, Friday I'm getting a booster, so we'll be good. I may have
Cool.
to bite the bullet and do it sooner because I can't even download games on my new Xbox One, Xbox Series X. I hate the naming of the Xboxes. It's fucking dumb.
Yep.
But yeah. Other than that, yeah. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we'll see you next time. And hopefully you'll see
Thanks,
me
Rusty.
next time
Thanks,
too.
Elian. Thanks, Rusty.
And I won't just be
Robo.
All right. I think we need to let RoboCop go.
All right.
half a
Bye, Slice.
thing.
Cut it here. Here, I'll give you an uptime too. Uptime.
Rusty, again, always
1 hour,
pleasure.
25 minutes ish.
You have a good one.
Peace, sirs.
All right.